right. Good evening, everyone. We are sitting for the December. Nope. We are. We're here sitting for the June 12th meeting of the Athens Shade Tree Commission. Looking around, we have everyone here for four. So our quorum is established. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from last week? Any issues? Any motion to accept them? Motion? Second. There we go. Minutes accepted. So to start off here, we have had a couple communications from some of our residents. So we'll start here with some of the Title 33 ones. So starting off, we had a email from a resident there at 21 Charles Street on the far east side, I guess. She said that, they had a tree die in the yard. She believes it's in the right of way. If you look at the picture that's attached there, I don't think that one that is dead is actually the one she's talking about. She said it might be. She said it was very simple and that they removed it themselves, as it was dead. Sure seems like it was dead. And she was kind of asking for approval to plant in a new one. It seems like it's probably right there within the right of way. So she wants to replace both that one and then, she said she's interested in planting more. So looks like there's probably some space there for, another, if not two more trees past what was already there. I sent her the link for, the tree planting application. Sent her the link for the online version of it as well. I haven't heard anything from Monica that it's come through.
I haven't seen anything.
And I didn't get any more response from her after that. I definitely think it's a good opportunity. We've got a spot that wants trees in it. So I think, pending once we see that application, I guess, I'd love to accept it and get some more trees.
The suggested tree list, does it get sent with the application so they know what's good for that area or species?
I don't know that I didn't send it, I don't think. It is on the Shade Tree Commission site, so I can send it to her. I'm planning on probably reaching back out to her. I did tell her that we were meeting, a month ago, that we would be meeting tonight. So I'll reach back out to her. I was wondering if, so I assume Monica, where do these,
Generally, what'll happen is if you do it online, it'll go through our office.
It'll go through code?
City code office, sorry about that, yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it to you. So I haven't seen anything. Usually those come land on my desk and then I'll bring them to you, but I haven't seen anything there on that one.
Gotcha. I'll reach back out to her and encourage her to make sure to get that in because it seems like a slam dunk. She said she's willing to pay for the planting as well. So seems like a real no-brainer for us.
Yeah, we would want to know before they start to dig the trees if they kind of mark where they are, and then we can help them with utility locations so that you don't plant one over a water stop or something that a sewer clean out or something like that.
Perfect. So I will get back to her and see if I can encourage her to get in touch with us again. We also had a handwritten note dropped off here at the city building. I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. Kind of aimed at us and the Disability Commission. They were, had some issues with some dead branches and an uplifting sidewalk along, if you're turning off State Street, the right side of Morris, coming down pretty close to State Street there. I have a little bit of a picture here. it actually looks like they were doing some utility work or something right in front of it, so I don't have a great picture of where the sidewalk is uplifting. It doesn't seem particularly severe from what you can tell, but
Yeah, so Morris has got a really wide right-of-way. It's much wider than most people expect. It goes pretty far back from the sidewalk. And so
Okay.
a lot of people that have trees on Morris think that those trees are in their front yard when they're really in the city's public right-of-way. So we can look at that. But sidewalk, this is one of the issues that you have, right? Where, sidewalks and trees some tree species don't go well together, right? So if you've got a sidewalk, you've got ADA compliance that you need to fix, then you're going to grind out the roots of the tree, and it's really bad for the tree. So if you guys have some suggestions on what we could do in those instances, we'd appreciate it, because we would, if there's a sidewalk problem, we would ask the property owner to correct the sidewalk, but we want to do that without injuring the street trees that are there as well.
yeah.
I can speak to that a little bit. So I know that removing the sidewalk itself is a task, but if we were to remove the portion that's raised up and then use a tool called an air spade, where you can basically blow out the soil that's compacted around that root, and you can make a clean cut along it instead of grinding it, that's going to be much easier for the tree to heal over time, much less jagged of a wound. So that's something that is possible and can be done if there's enough, communication and planning between whoever's doing the right-of-way work and arborist.
Typically, it's going to be the property owner that
Yeah.
would be doing that. So I don't know what the cost or expense of that would be, and we'd have to convince the property owner that the tree's valuable enough to spend the extra money,
Right.
not to
Yeah.
just do the cheap and easy thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And then there's, the other option is, and this is kind of, requires a lot of forethought, but when we're planting young trees, making sure that the soil conditions are porous enough so that the roots don't try to come to the surface for air as much. That's just, generally how we should be planting moving forward. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk with any property owners.
Great.
So, perennial problem, hard thing to get taken care of. It doesn't seem particularly severe from what I can tell. It looks like maybe half an inch raised up or so, which is, an accessibility issue, but could probably be addressed without too drastic of measures. Without seeing down through there, I can't really speak much to the dead branches that were there. I couldn't really get a great look from the Google images, so it may be something that if we, might want to put on the work list for Public Works or whatever. But something to have on the list here. And then we had another one, which is the Lincoln Street Pines. So we had a communication from somebody, I believe their parents lived there in that Meadow Lane community. They were pretty upset with, I think, some branches had fallen. I think a branch just very recently fell, is what you were saying, Dave. From my understanding, the city has marked that one on the corner of that unmarked avenue for removal. It sure does look dead, so I think that should be removed. It may be worth, the city taking a look if there are really any easy to prune low dead branches on, maybe the next one or so. The person contacted us did say she would have liked to have seen all of those pines from that unnamed alley to Meadow Lane removed. I don't think that's really feasible. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for us. Pines can be a little finicky. There can be dead branches, but from looking at what you see, I don't see any major signs of decline in them. They seem to be pretty well spaced. It looks like, they don't have extremely dense canopies that would catch the wind. So I don't think they pose any real undue danger. Maybe if we have a crew or, a contractor out there to work on it, on the dead one, maybe if there are some easy to prune low dead branches, that might be added onto the work order. But she did indicate that she maybe would foot the bill for replacing the trees. I don't know if we don't remove all of them, like she wants, that she would then foot the bill for replacing the one. But I think there's a possibility for us to replace that tree either way. But so it sounds like it is in the city's right of way of those trees.
Yes, we checked it is.
So I think that's the big ones we had for Title 33.
Tristan, did you want me to follow up with Nina on that response?
Yeah, if we have any sort of a timeline or whatever for removals, especially now that another branch has fallen, it might be really put her at ease to know that we have eyes on it and we are working to remove that one.
Okay.
So we can get back to her. We also have a pollinator yard permit for Elliott Street, I believe. I have that in the packet here, if I can scroll down here to it. So, everything seems fine here. I don't see any big issues. So I know one of the changes that was kind of in that big, STC code change thing was that people other than the property owner could submit these applications. I don't know that she is the property owner. I think this can still go ahead without that, with their approval or whatever. But I did want to kind of point that out. And the list of stuff she's got on here is great. Tons of
that
stuff.
out.
She really did her homework. She's hit all the different things. Definitely don't need things fruiting in winter or whatever. The map is, I love these little hand-drawn maps. So she looks like she's got a nice little garden back there, or up there, I guess. So I'm happy to accept it and move it forward. So when they receive this, did she put in the $25 or whatever that I guess that takes?
Before we approve the permit, we'll make sure that those fees are paid.
Okay.
So that permit won't go ahead unless those fees are paid. So we'll follow up with that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it looks great to me. Does anyone have issues with it? Can I get a motion to accept and approve this?
Motion.
Motion, second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Sounds good. All right. So beyond that, we have a couple things that came to both me and Gene's attention. Looking around, we're in kind of getting into the dog days here, so looking at some of the more stressed trees, the things that have kind of been lingering here. One thing that I've pointed out a couple times, wanted to bring it back up, the dead linden there on Court Street, I believe in front of the tanning salon, maybe. One that I kind of wanted to put on the list here. Not a huge priority, but it's kind of been lingering I think it's been dead here for about a year. So that may be something that we want to look into.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Would the commission be interested in using the Menard's banked trees as to replace that? Because we could just add an additional tree and then get it installed. If you guys would be acceptable with that, that might be the best way to go about it. Since we've got
Absolutely.
that big bank of trees.
Yeah, and even, can put this out there. And one of the other things too is if the city's having kind of a hard time, I know there are budgetary discussions right now. The tree bank can also be used for removals and replacements. So if it's cutting into the purse strings, obviously the tree bank can be used. I think I would be okay entertaining that idea. It kind of comes to Andy's discretion of using it, but I don't think I think that's a high enough impact site that it probably would be pretty costly logistically as well to close down part of Court Street during the summer.
If you could select a species that you'd like planted there, and we'll just add that to the list that you're preparing for the fall planting. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, and so we'll talk about that as well. That may be, if we can get that removed by the time we are doing this volunteer work, that could be a kind of a high impact, might be a good spot to have the mayor do a little ceremonial planting or something of a single tree. This will be a pretty high visual spot. Did anyone have any particular species that jump to mind? I was kind of toying around with the idea of maybe seeing a black locust in there. They're not always the favorite of street trees, but they are really adaptable. They, if we can get specific cultivars, they have really beautiful showy flowers in the early summer, late spring. They're relatively short-lived, which I don't think is too much of an issue with how much things turn over on Court Street anyway. They seem to not have a lot of limb issues. So that was my pitch, if anyone had big objections for it.
No, they're good. They're resilient.
So that might be one that I put forward. And then, so moving on from that, stress trees. So, Gene, if you want to point these out.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking at trees often when I'm about town. So I saw the oak trees over by the library on the drive-in. A lot of them are showing pretty significant signs of stress, most likely drought stress from the last few years. You can see some of the dieback on the branches and some minor wilting. So what would help with that is installing mulch beds and trying to do a little more regular watering. I don't know if that's something that we could coordinate with the library staff, because I know that they have a grounds team specifically. But I also know there are contractors in town who could help out with the mulching specifically and installing those mulch beds. So I think that's something that we need to be paying attention to for a lot of our street trees. The soil conditions and the drought conditions generally are going to lead to quicker decline. So yeah, that's something I noticed, and I see it in other trees around town as well. And I've brought it up before, and the city's been pretty responsive in getting bags around the base and things like that.
Gator bags, is that what we're thinking?
Gator bags work, definitely. I prefer. It's another product called a tree diaper. It's a terrible name, but it works much better than a gator bag.
I've seen they're like a round
Yeah,
donuts.
they're a little donut, basically.
Yeah.
They're just really good at retaining water, specifically from the rain, and so they'll fill up on their own and then slowly trickle into the soil. I've had really positive results with those.
Is that the one that uses that fiber that absorbs moisture?
Yeah.
That's why they call it the diaper thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the same material that
Yeah.
they use for diapers,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked with the creator a few times, and he recognizes that it's a bad name, but he's just really stuck with it. So, but yeah, I would recommend those. They're a little more expensive than gator bags generally, but they work better, and they're worth it in my opinion.
Can they be reused on different trees at different times?
They could, yeah. They have a lifespan of 3 to 5 years. They can be left out in all conditions, all seasons. So yeah, they're really durable. But yeah, so I guess I'm also curious, as we're seeing things in the city, around the city, and people are telling us about things, what's the avenue for us communicating some of this stuff?
Yeah. I don't mean to steal your thunder, Tristan, but Tristan's going to be meeting with Andy Stone next month, and me and a couple other folks. That might be the best place to start, because we know that there's some some issue with the amount of manpower that we can put out for that kind of stuff, and then can we get volunteers? So I think that might be a great place to start discussions.
Sure.
On trying to do this really needed stuff. I mean, this is stuff we put money into planting these trees, and then we don't maintain them after we have them installed. So,
Right.
So I would suggest maybe that would be the best avenue to start.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you.
Definitely. So, and then another big piece of this that comes under, coordination between us and the city here is, kind of touching on that, seeing if we can make out some sort of routine or do some sort of training for the guys on Public Works of, getting a watering routine in place, and maybe even, this kind of goes hand in hand with us trying to kind of bootstrap a tree inventory, and then, potentially trying to get a tree inventory, professionally done with some grant money, if maybe we can identify some of these younger trees, some of the trees that we see, year over year, or anything that's prone to, these drought conditions that may, from June to August, these need to be on some sort of, weekly, bi-weekly, once a month watering rotations. So I don't know. Do we have like a water truck or anything that?
Same thing.
We do for some of the flowering plants uptown, but I don't think it's probably not a big enough system to manage if you're doing a lot of tree watering. Mm-hmm. And then I think that is Public Works, but also might be Parks Maintenance as well, may be involved in that. So.
Do you know if they're watering, like, with the flowers? I know the truck you're talking about. Are they also hitting the trees in that area, or do they just go for, like, those flower baskets?
I think they're just doing the flower baskets, yeah.
Got it. Well, and ideally, this is kind of a last resort thing, trying to get some of these preemptive, tree diapers on the really high risk things, and, kind of only deploying this when we're really in like a deep drought or, pretty adverse
Yeah,
conditions.
so one of the suggestions you may want to think about is try to figure out ways to reduce the number of man hours. It's probably going to be cheaper for us to do a gator bag or one of those donuts because you're spending less man hours. It's the man hours is what's expensive, right? So those systems might be expensive, but if you don't have to go out there every week with a person to physically bring water out there, think about ways that you could suggest to the city how to do this and not create a whole bunch of extra man hour requirements. So just my head, just the gator bags and the donuts. That's a great way to reduce the number of man hours required. If you can think of other things like that, that'd be great.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then I will actually let me see what else we got here. I guess we can go through on the agenda. So moving on from some of that stuff, there is a couple things under new business here. Frankly, some of them are old business now at this point. I was away for about a week and a half here, and some of these kind of slipped the radar. So the first two, one of them is it's Project Camp, Green Project Camp, from Valerie Locke. She's an educator doing kind of a summer programming with, youth through the Patton College of Education. She had reached out to us on maybe doing some educational programming with them. Probably a little late. One of the younger kids events are this week. But the older kids' events are next week. I did want to bring it up. I hated to not say something about it, but we probably could have got to it a little sooner and figured something out. But
I did want to mention, when you first sent this email, I did reach out to Valerie, and I never got a response. and I did try following up as well and didn't get a response.
Okay,
So,
perfect. So
did
it's
my due diligence.
yes, perfect. So feel a little less bad about it. The other, I was hoping Michael Wood would be here. He had sent this opportunity to us, the rain garden workshop. They were going to do a little workshop, I assume, of the rain gardens along Stimson. I'm sure there's probably some elsewhere, but we missed that. I was hoping he'd be here. Maybe we could get a word from him about how it went and, if there were any plans for future ones. But keep
I
that.
can email him.
Yeah. We also had the results from Dr. Matlack's urban ecology class. So they had, I don't know, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or so student studies that were done throughout the city. Pretty interesting stuff. Nothing jumping out as like immediately useful to us, but definitely, kind of a great win-win of, using the university to help us in management and using the city as a playground for, these budding scientists to get some hands-on experience doing studies. And I believe this was the first semester they offered it, was pretty great turnout, and hopefully, a resource that can really bloom into something that we can use day to day even. One other thing, I can't remember, I'd like to give credit to whoever found this. I attached in there, someone had found the initial declaration, incorporation, whatever, of the Athens Shade Tree Commission.
Was it Rosenthal?
I'm trying to find it in here. There we go. It was Matlack. Found the one of the original newspaper clippings of when they put the tree commission into ordinance back in 1929. So thought that was cool. It's attached in the agenda here if anyone wants to take a look at it. And then finally, for our new business, I had Chris Fall reach out on behalf of the Conservancy. They are applying for a Clean Ohio grant that they are looking to, I believe, buy a 80 or so acre piece of land. This is kind of in conjunction with, I believe, the Wayne. They're trying to basically make a wildlife and kind of preserve corridor that reaches kind of from the Hocking up into some of the wild space up in the Wayne. So wanted to bring that to everybody if everybody seems okay with us backing that. It seems like definitely a great piece addition to the wildlife and the ecology of our area. And then old business. So another thing that's kind of slipped through the cracks here a little bit. I had talked last meeting with everybody about going through our Tree City filings and seeing all the contractors that we had worked with last year to reach out to them. I have not got to that, so hoping to still get that done. Now that it's been, 3 months now without us having communicated that with the operators, I think it might be, maybe add another 3 months here if everyone's okay with that. I think it's a pretty easy thing. It's kind of been on me, frankly. But, I think that 6 months is a good timeline for them to get any operators that they're willing to trained and, ready for an ISA exam. And the more I've been kind of procrastinating this, that chews into their time kind of unfairly. Does that sound okay to everyone of expanding this back out?
Sure.
Hopefully once and done thing. So I have the contractors up. I have just not written that email out to them. And then Dave, I might reach out to you because I looked in there. I think there's Schumacher and
We can
Goodleaf.
update you on any new that come in. as
Okay.
well, so.
So I will, I'll try to reach around and see if we can find any of the different, resources where we have hired contractors and see if I can't get word out to them. So I guess we probably need to vote on that. Is everybody okay with 6 months from this meeting of that deadline?
Yeah. Motion to approve.
Motion? Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. So, like Dave mentioned, we will hopefully maybe by next STC, maybe a little after, we were planning to have a meeting with city administration and particularly Andy Stone to kind of hash out the details on some of this STC code change stuff. It sounds like, in favor of trying to make it easier to schedule, that we've parsed down the list. I don't think this is going to be a huge organizational meeting of everybody. So it sounds like probably whoever the administration wants. Me, John from Planning Commission, and then maybe Ann Bonner. So we'll try to get some good people in the room here and kind of talk about this. This is kind of an existential thing for us here now. And so some of the conversations and some of the details that I've been going over in my head of, there's definitely room for change here, and I think change for the better. So one of the big things that I kind of want to pursue in this and kind of get people's feedback from is to, it sounds like, see if we can't get some sort of link between us and city administration. One of the kind of the things I pitched out was maybe getting a permanent seat for, someone in administration on here, either Andy Stone or, service safety director or assistant service safety director, or vice versa, one of the things that we're trying to work on, and this will come up again in this meeting pretty heavily, with this grant that we're applying for through the ODNR, and kind of where my head is at just in general with the commission is to try to get us more in the realm of an urban forestry, arboriculture, professional advisory committee to the city. I don't think that means that we shouldn't have any voice, but, I think in a way that we can link, us and administration and have us in the same room on regular basis would be a good way to move forward with this. And like I said, with that grant, the real idea is that hopefully we can kind of put in place the foundation for, rehiring a city arborist or, urban forester, which is kind of the more in vogue now. So that's kind of where we're aiming, some of that funding to go, is to kind of build that foundation, maybe see if we can get the city on track with, potentially opening that position back up. It's been around and it's been vacant for 3 years or so now. And, where the weather's not getting any nicer to our trees. So, I think we're losing money and we're losing investment in our infrastructure without having that. So, hopefully, without making it a big financial burden on the city, we can get some grant money and kind of put that in place and see if we can't get back, and then hopefully kind of rebuild this around, a city administration member, a hired professional, and then have that maybe be a permanent voice on some of these, bigger commissions that make some more of the decisions. So that's kind of where that's looking. It's still not planned. We're hoping sometime in July. So I'll keep you guys updated as that occurs and anything that comes out of it. So to continue on that train of thought, I guess we'll go to our committee updates and start with our grant.
Yeah, so I'm still putting together the first draft of the application, but we have a significant amount of letters of approval or letters of support that have already been sent in from local organizations, including Rural Action, the Ohio Environmental Council, and I believe we had a few others that I can't name right now, but either way, we've got a lot of public support and a lot of people who are really excited. The Sustainability Commission was the other organization. So right now we're working on getting the last few letters of support that we need, specifically city councils. I've been speaking with Sam Crow, and I just got an email from him before this meeting, basically just trying to determine who would be responsible for managing the grant if there were any turnover on the commission. Mm-hmm. That's the city's big concern right now, which I'm currently working on the same grant in Logan and working with their tree commission on this, so I've seen how they've navigated that. So I'm hoping to work with Sam on that as well. But otherwise, he seems really supportive and excited to sign off on it. So, yeah, so the grant application is due in August. We're really hitting the ground running this summer, and I'll have more updates next month.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, exciting stuff, man. And with this was supposed to be due
February,
April, and it was frozen, unfrozen, gray room. So now it sounds like it's pretty stable now. It is unfrozen. It is approved. This is money that is available. So hopefully, it is aimed really at building these urban forestry positions. One of the other things that it's really looking for is to kind of pump up the local economy around, tree nurseries, things like that. So we're looking at a lot of different things that we can get into with this. So I think it'll be pretty exciting. I guess we still have a committee here for BioBlitz, which now is the kind of the inventory. I haven't heard anything back from Eva. I haven't really been pressing on her too much. So I'll reach back out to her and see where we're at on the back end of when we did that BioBlitz and how much of that inventory that, hopefully we can, if we get money, one of the things that we're looking at through the grant is maybe doing a inventory anyway. So maybe we can have some of that infrastructure and skeleton of filling it out ready. And then finally, kind of hit the nail again. We have planned for November 8th this Arbor Day celebration. I will actually be meeting with Ann and Kevin Catherine Ann and Kevin Skurlock tomorrow down at by the public gym to kind of space some of those things out. Think about species selection and potentially, mark them in some really rudimentary way, whatever that looks like, and then ideally get a tree list, count, everything ready for you, Dave, to get over to Menards and get those ready for us. I guess, we can keep one, maybe a black locust in the bank if we can get this linden cleared out in time. But that is, I'm meeting with them tomorrow at 1:00. I don't expect anyone is free, but obviously everyone is invited if you want to come measure out trees with me.
Where? When?
At the outdoor public gym at 1:00.
Oh, down at the bike path?
Yep.
I could be convinced.
All right.
I'll take my lunch break.
Bring
at
a
different
stick
time.
or something. I need someone to hold the other end of the measuring tape for me. But it'll be a good opportunity. I haven't really interacted with Kevin a lot. Seems like it'll be a great bridge to make there. And we will, I'll reach out to Arbor Day Foundation and, you know, some of the other volunteer folks to see if we can start putting the word out or, you know, getting into lists of volunteers to make sure that we really have, you know, I think we'll probably be looking at, like I said, probably about 25 trees or so. So the manpower will be needed for sure. And that's all I got for now. Does anybody have anything else that they want to bring up? Anything that we didn't cover here?
Don't believe so.
I got nothing.
All right. Our next meeting will be July 10th. And if that sounds like everything, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.